hopefully that something's coming up there. I have a slight disclaimer to make. I am a total Apple fanboy. I have an iPod, iPhone, iMac, MacBook Pro, iPad, Apple TV. When the new iPads come out, this one will be gone. I'll have it all. A lot of the things I'm going to talk about are somewhat Apple specific because I feel right now those are the best tools to utilize a lot of the mobile technology in the industry. Now, if you're not an Apple person, don't worry. I mean, a lot of these things will still show you what's possible. There are other ways to do a lot of the things I'll talk about.
Just quickly about questions. Are we going to have questions at the end?
You can ask questions at any point as we go. I don't mind being interrupted. So, you know, if you're BlackBerry PC, there are still tools there for you. I may not be able to give you exact examples right now because I don't use them, but you can talk about what's possible.
Will you point out what you're suggesting is Apple specific?
Yes, I will, along the way, yeah, most definitely.
And then I can make some PC suggestions.
Perfect. I honestly, I welcome any PC suggestions. I know some of them. I can't necessarily tell you what my experience is like because I don't use them, but it can give you a few options. So let's start with some of the basics. I imagine most people in here are all over these things, but again, these are just, I want to go through kind of the raw basics, make sure everyone is on the same page. When you're using email, make sure your email is an IMAP server. If you don't know what that is, if you have to delete an email message on your phone and on your computer, you're not using IMAP. IMAP just means that your email is stored on a central server and everything is synced. So if you have 3 different computers, 2 different smartphones, whatever you do on one device will be done on another. Google does it, Macmail does it. Most of the major email programs will offer IMAP. I think Hotmail is about the only one that does it now. So it's usually just a matter of how you set it up. Calendar and contacts should be synced. You know, most smartphones will do that automatically, whether that's through Outlook, Google Apps, Mobile Me on the Mac side. You know, they all work. If it's not set up, just trust me, it's going to save you a lot of money. Document sharing. We're going to get more into the importance of that as we talk about some of the things that you can do on the run. But document sharing with your computer is hugely important. One, it's a great backup tool if anything happens to your computer, but also having access to your hard drive. My iPhone, my iPad, laptop, office computer, whatever files are on one are everywhere. So, you know, I can have a client from 3 years ago call me while I'm in the car, say, Ben, you know, looking up, property disclosure statement, we had a flood, wondering if the owner knew anything about this. Can pull over on the side of the road, pull up the contract file from 3 years ago and say, yeah, you know, here it is, it's over in 30 seconds. You know, I don't need to call the office, I don't need to dig through paperwork, none of that needs to be done. It's all in your hand as you go. A couple of great programs for that. Dropbox is probably the best. Dropbox is free, up to 2 gigs, it's just dropbox.com. If you don't have an account, try it, it's fabulous. I personally use the biggest account they have, which is 100 gigs, and I have my entire computer on a Dropbox. So all of my music, photos, personal information, and then all of my real estate documents as well. My entire computer is literally in the cloud. So cloud computing. iDisk is Mac specific. I use that as well. That's for primarily calendar contacts. But again, also have a second backup of all my real estate folders there. The nice thing about that, if you're using an iPhone, iPad, the iDisk integration is seamless. It takes a minute to set up, and all of your Apple devices will be perfectly in sync for the rest of the time. Google Apps does do some document sharing as well. I personally am one of the few people I don't actually use Google at all. I don't use Gmail, I don't use any of the shared apps. But that's just a personal preference. They do a great job on a lot of things. Like I said, their shared calendars, contacts, etc. does work really well for a lot of people. And the last one is the digital fax number. If you still have a real legitimate fax machine, I suggest you throw it out. MyFax, TELUS eFax, there's all sorts of different companies that do it. Just type email fax into Google and you'll get a variety of companies. I think it's, I don't know, $6 or $7 a month. And you get a phone number, you can send and receive faxes from your iPhone. So it's something, we'll talk about a little bit more, but I can take a picture of a contract, put it into an email, type in a fax number, and that contract gets faxed off of my phone in 20, 30 seconds. I mean, fax machines should be dead. Why they're still in existence is beyond me.
One of the biggest benefits of Dropbox is backup.
Yeah.
And also the ability to do like revision history. So
Yeah.
every time you save a file, then keep a copy of that file. So if you wanted to go back 20 revisions for the file, you can use that file back.
Yeah.
So the backup function is very good.
Yeah, it is. It's just like your entire, like for me, my whole computer's on there. So it serves a day-to-day functional purpose as far as being mobile, but it does. Your entire computer's backup as well as for any disaster purposes. So syncing files, contacts, and calendars, kind of talked about all of this. For some of these signing contracts on the go, which for me is one of the most interesting mobile applications, Dropbox is almost a necessity. You can sort of hack your way through it and other methods, but Dropbox is like a seamless integration for contract files, which is great. Like I said, iDisk is brilliant if you're on that, and Google Apps sort of works. So the biggest part for going mobile is kind of that whole going paperless. The buzzword has been around for a while. I was talking with Rebecca before we got going about how our offices have sort of gone that paperless route. So using a program called Realtor Ben. So all the contract files with our office, with our conveyancing department, is all paperless. I never hand my conveyancing department a piece of paper. Everything is digital copies loaded into a digital system. All the files are there at all times. So all the deal sheets, all the contract files, lawyer information, all that is all digital. If your office isn't using it, certainly talk to your managing broker. It's a great system, and it helps keep going paperless. The point dies a little bit if at the end of the day you still have to print everything off and hand it to your conveyancing department. Ideally, that end solution matches what you're doing personally.
Quick question, going paperless, obviously it's going to cost you up front to switch over to some of these things. How long do you think it would take generally to see the results as far as not spending money on paper, fax machines, the labor involved, etc.?
Yeah, on the personal side, the cost is actually quite low. I mean, for me, it's smartphone, iPad, and maybe $20 in apps. So that raw cost is $1,000 roughly, and you're fully mobile. As far as the brokerage and going into sort of a paperless back end, that's a larger cost for the brokerage and not something you have complete control over. So I think more and more offices are getting there, but definitely something you should talk to your managing broker about if your company's not using it. So for me, what really kind of sold me, I mean, I probably would have bought an iPad anyway, but what really sold me, I originally was thinking, okay, maybe I'll get one. It'll just be, I'll have Netflix on it. I can watch my iTunes videos. Music will be great on the plane. I thought it was going to be a toy. Within about 48 hours, it had sort of become completely business, and I actually don't really have any games or fun things on it at all. It's strictly a business tool now, because I don't get to do anything fun with it because it's so useful for business. The most attractive thing for me is signing contracts on here. And I'll give you a quick example just in timeline. But basically, there's 3 things you need to sign contracts. You don't need an iPad. There are other tablets out there that run specific software. I find them a little more cumbersome, a little bit buggy, and they're not really good for much else. The iPad for me is just a better total solution. So for me, the iPad hardware is kind of a must. I think anybody in real estate that doesn't have one should get one very quickly. Dropbox, which I've already talked about. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to get all your contract files onto the iPad. So obviously, if you're going to sign things on here, you need documents there to sign. And then Notarize. Notarize is an app that you get through the iTunes store. It's about $10. There are other options. I've tried them all. I spent about $100 trying various PDF editors. For me, that was far and away the best. Again, the integration with Dropbox is perfect. The ability to edit documents is a bit more powerful than most.
How much do you pay for Dropbox every month?
For 100 gigabytes, it's $20 a month. You get 2 gigabytes for free. So if all you're doing is loading contracts in for signing purposes, you can probably get away with a 2 gigabyte free account for a good length of time. If you want it for actual backup of computer files, you're probably going to need